Former Raptors second-round pick Christian Koloko has been medically cleared to return to basketball, so could he be eyeing a return to the Raptors, and should the team really bring him back? Let's get into it. The Toronto Raptors selected Christian Koloko with the 33rd overall pick of the 2022 NBA entry draft, and when the selection was made, I was very excited. I was a huge fan of Christian Koloko coming out of Arizona, where he had continuously displayed his defensive prowess, not only as a rim protector, but also with his ability to be maybe even a little bit switchable for a 7-footer, getting out on the perimeter, playing defense in those areas as well. That was certainly intriguing for the Raptors front office, who not only do they favor defense, they favor switchability. And somebody who can bring that size to proceedings with that level of basketball talent already there, it seemed like a great selection for the Raptors, especially considering the fact he was a 33rd overall pick. Bobby Webster, even after the draft, said they were surprised he slipped that far. In the rookie season, Christian Koloko produced some decent performances. Perhaps the highlight was that corner three, the game winner against the Phoenix Suns. It wasn't many three-pointers. I think that was actually the only three-pointer he ever scored in the NBA, but there was a lot of promise for the player heading into his second NBA season, and it turned into despair, where the start of the year, Christian Koloko was dealing with, quote, a respiratory issue. That was all the information that was available for the player. We truly did not know what was going on, but in the end, this respiratory issue spilled into the Raptors, eventually making a trade where they sent out Pascal Siakam. They brought back additional players. They needed to make some roster space, and the decision was made that that roster space was going to be made by waiving the player they drafted 33rd overall just a year and a half prior in Christian Koloko. He was waived, and more information came out about his health and that he was dealing with blood clots and that he just was not medically available to play basketball. It was a sad situation overall, and we hope for the best for the player, and maybe the best is on the horizon as he has been medically cleared once again to play basketball. So we're going to discuss what the options are for the player and for the Raptors over the course of today's video right here on Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to bringing you Toronto Raptors news coverage and analysis, whether it be in videos like this or in live streams on the channel. If you like what you see from this video, well, first of all, make sure you do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for even more Raptors coverage throughout the offseason and beyond. So don't get too far ahead of ourselves here. Yes, he has been medically cleared to play basketball. That is excellent news, first of all. He has been working out with other NBA free agents, which means a return to the NBA could be on the horizon in the future. However, even though he has been medically cleared by doctors to play basketball once again, he has not been medically examined or cleared by the NBA to return to basketball. In that sort of medical clearance, he will have to sign a waiver as well, indicating that he recognizes perhaps that there are some concerns associated with his health. However, he is going to play through those risks in hopes of getting back to the league. And if he does return to the league, would that be with the Toronto Raptors? So first of all, the option absolutely is there for Koloko to return to the Raptors. The Raptors were the team that waived him, but this does not mean that he cannot return to the team. And some of the reports that have come out even last season was that the Toronto Raptors were continuing to keep tabs on Christian Koloko. They were continuously in contact with him, they were continuously speaking with him, and they are continuously maybe even working with him a little bit. And I think that proof of this was that in Summer League, Christian Koloko was seen consistently hanging out with members of Raptors staff and members of the Toronto Raptors. So perhaps there is still a good relationship between the team and the player, which would be an extremely welcome sight, because the Raptors, well, if you've been following my channel at all throughout the offseason, one of the big things I've wanted the Raptors to address is their need for a backup center. Not just any backup center, a backup center who can protect the rim. That is what they're missing. There were a few things they needed in the offseason, mainly a backup point guard, a little bit of a big wing defender, but one of the main areas of focus that still has not been addressed is a backup big who can protect the rim. And certainly bringing in a player like Christian Koloko, as much as, I like the player, I like the potential, this is the exact type of player that this roster is missing. I mean, I recently looked over the Raptors depth chart for the upcoming season, and the depth that I was most concerned about was in the center position. I like Kelly Olynyk as a backup. I'm intrigued by Jonathan Mobo and his potential to affect the Raptors in the NBA going forward, but they do not have a solidified rim protector, and it's just unfair in those bench units to task players, like specifically guys like Jacoby Walter, who he's coming into the league as a rookie, And one thing that we really want to see blossom in the NBA is his ability to play defense. And you're just making his life as the defender, and for everybody else in the team in those second units, you're just making their lives so much harder to not have that defensive stopper on the other end of the floor behind them on defense to really get the most out of these guys. They have to work extra hard. They have to do more than is necessary of themselves to get those stops on defense. So it's a bit of a miss by the Raptors not to address this in the offseason. However, if and when Christian Koloko is medically cleared to return to the NBA, perhaps that is the way they can address this major need. But even if Christian Koloko is cleared to return to the NBA, it's not just going to be as simple as re-signing him. Doug Smith of the Toronto Star recently said that there hasn't really been any notion coming out of Christian Koloko's camp that they're just going to, sweep the fact that the Raptors, in a way, kind of gave up on this guy under the rug. Like, they are just not going to completely forget that. Obviously, there seems to still be a decent relationship, as I said, between the Raptors and Koloko, but is there perhaps some sort of bad blood in there? For the simple fact of the matter that, hey, this is the team that when I needed support, I needed help going through my crisis as a potential career-threatening injury, career-threatening health concerns. This is the team that waived me. This is the team that gave up on me. There's certainly a possibility that that is the case. There's certainly a possibility that he feels as though he'd be better served going somewhere else. But hopefully, we don't know what went on behind the scenes. Hopefully what was communicated was, look, we really want to work with these other guys as a part of a rebuild for the rest of the season. We want to see what we have here. The reality is, we will do everything to continue to support you, even if we do cut you, even if we do waive you. But we need this roster space to take on this trade, and we need this roster space to see what we have as far as players are concerned for the rest of the season and potentially beyond. Hopefully that was communicated. Hopefully that made sense, and hopefully there is no bad blood there, but I will mention that that is a distinct possibility. Also, what is a distinct possibility is that any of the other 29 teams in the NBA have looked at Koloko in the past and said, yeah, that's a good player as well. I'm not sure as many teams around the league could give Koloko the sort of role that I am seeing for him as the backup big for this team. I'm not sure there's many teams around the NBA who would be willing to provide that. Maybe he'd be more suited to being a third-string center for a lot of teams. Maybe in a way he would kind of be a third-string center for the Raptors, but I feel like his role should be bumped up a little bit. But regardless, there's going to be a lot of teams potentially interested in a player like that. Therefore, a bunch of teams could be trying to give him an offer. A bunch of teams could be trying to bring in his services, and it's absolutely up to Koloko which team he does sign for in the end if he does return to play in the NBA. That is the full story that we have right now. We're just going to have to be a little bit patient on proceedings here to see exactly what turns up of these whole events. But it is, regardless of the Raptors, taking off my Raptors hat here. I know I'm wearing this shirt. I look like a coach when I wear this Raptors polo, but taking off my Raptors blinders here, the big news about this discussion is that Christian Koloko is playing basketball again. He's been medically cleared to continue to play basketball. That is the big news that comes out of this, and I'm so happy for the player because he worked very hard, maybe in a short amount of time, but he did work very hard to realize his NBA dreams, got to play with the Raptors, and I'm sure he wanted to continue his career with the Raptors, but sometimes there are things that are bigger than basketball, and sometimes there are things that are also completely out of our control. So the big news is he's back playing basketball, and it would be awesome if when he does return to the NBA, even when he does return to the NBA, it is with the Raptors. Not only is he a great young player, he is a great young player that really fits a role that the Raptors need right now. And I think the fit would make a ton of sense for him to get his NBA reps in, to get his development in, and it would really help out the Toronto Raptors on top of that, which is just the gravy on top for a young prospect returning to the league. So what do you make of the Christian Koloko situation? Would you want him back on the Raptors? Give me all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that's it for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more Raptors content, and I will see you again next time for another video.